If we like someone, we'll hire them. But like if it doesn't work out in a month, we'll let them go, give them 2 weeks. And I've learned just enough now. Like you don't want to change someone. I made that mistake the first time. We kept someone for like 6 months. And by the second week, we knew she wouldn't work out. But we just like, we spent so much time investing in this person. Like
it's a nice person.
It's a nice person. It's my pleasure to welcome Caleb Shore to the show today. Caleb, thanks for joining us today. You're adding on different services. Like, how are you thinking about Caleb LLC?
I think kind of the future is these digital services. We took on a revenue management client that did 30 grand all of last year. We are on pace to do like 140 grand. Redid the marketing, set minimum night stays. We turned that property to losing money every month to very profitable.
I very much agree with that. I think that's a service that the space really needs. A lot of people say they're revenue managers. I would say not all of them are like that qualified.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this and you're struggling with revenue management, my advice is like, one, just you can. Hey everyone, welcome back to STR Like the Best. I'm your host, Michael Chang. It's my pleasure to welcome Caleb Shore to the show today. Caleb, thanks for joining us today.
I'm excited to be here, Michael.
I'm excited to speak with you today. Before we hopped on, we were talking about kind of what we wanted to hit on today and wanted to make this a very tactical conversation. So both Caleb and I, our portfolios are similar sized. And, I think we have a lot of commonalities we can talk about. And, if you're listening and you have some short-term rentals and you want to learn more about how to optimize it, I think this is a good episode to listen to. And, as you know, the goal of the podcast really is to help you better invest your time, right, as you're building your business. And I think this episode will be a great one to listen to. So Caleb, why don't we start with just tell us a little bit about yourself and your business today.
Yeah, excited to be here. I've been following you for a long time. Love the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, been following you from afar. I don't know if our paths have ever like crossed at any of the conferences or whatever, but super excited to be here. Yeah, a little bit about me. We do full service management for about 35 properties. We do some revenue management for 8, and then some virtual co-hosting for 8 more properties. So I'm based in Charlotte, North Carolina, so East Coast, and everybody's like, why Charlotte? Like, that's where I live. That's where I grew up. Built kind of a community here, but related to short-term rentals, Charlotte is definitely not, it's not ever going to hit your top 10 list, best markets to invest in for STRs. But it is a pretty strong market for appreciation growth. So yeah, a little bit about me, but yeah, excited to be here, man.
Yeah, you mentioned about Charlotte not being on the list. It's been on my radar for a long time. One of my my earliest students that I kind of helped coach and scale their business, Mike and Steve, they both live in New York. Steve's a real estate agent. He was actually on the Sirhan Netflix special. If you ever watched that one, but they have 10 plus apartments under rental arbitrage in downtown Charlotte, like literally right next to the stadium, and they're doing like 2.7x revenue to rent, which is like, or last month, which is like very, very, very good.
Yeah.
It's good to be in a market that's not on all the top 10 lists because there's probably more opportunity there versus everyone coming in.
Yeah, for sure. I'm fine with not being on the top 10 list. It seems like the competition here is pretty low. The city is super small, even though it is like a mid-sized urban city. But STR specifically, like you start talking, like I know all the big operators. It feels like a small town. So yeah, I'm completely fine not any of those lists.
Let's tell us about the 35. So where are they based? And I think you said 8 of them are revenue management clients and 8 of them are co-hosting clients. Just give us a little bit of breakdown there.
Yeah. So 35 are full service. Those are based in Charlotte, like Lake Norman area, usually within like a 30, 45 minute drive here locally. That's what we started with. That's, our bread and butter. Majority of our revenue right now is those full service clients. On top of that, we've got 8 co-host clients. Those are all across the US. And then on top of that, we do revenue management for 8 more. Once again, those are not included in 35 or the 8. Those are same thing in the US, Poconos, Nashville, some on the beach. Some different markets. So I'm learning secondhand, like all of my experience has been here in Charlotte, like super urban market, a lot of like insurance claims, people traveling for work, not vacationing. This is not a vacation market. And getting exposure to some of these other markets, like the Poconos, for example, that's a big vacation market. It's not New York City. It's not those like traditional urban markets. The booking trends are different. The length of stays are wildly
Right.
different. So you have to tailor the marketing as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's which is actually what I kind of hit on, like how you've grown the business. We have our arbitrage portfolio in Philadelphia, which very urban market, and then we have our vacation rental properties in Tennessee and up in the Catskills in New York. Very very different, and really kind of a different skill set as you are pricing, for example, on for your revenue management business, but also just the level of service. And that's going to kind of correlate it with price. Higher end properties, you would just kind of expect more, and guest quality. Generally speaking, they pay more. I don't want to say expect less, but like they kind of just know what they're getting. They kind of like did the work up front. They know what they're getting. They're not like they're not trying to squeeze every penny and nickel from you, right? Versus, I think, when people book cheap, it's like maybe their last $200 or like that's the $300.
Yes.
That's their entire kind of entertainment budget, and they're gonna like go all out. And those aren't,
Yeah.
those definitely,
Those aren't the
kind of
best
the
guests.
people. They're the best guests.
Yeah.
They're gonna destroy your towels and leave everything a mess. Um,
Yeah.
but so the 35, are they all kind of, so they're full service clients? So maybe just define what that means for the audience. What does full service mean?
Yeah. People throw around full service, co-hosting. Everybody's got kind of a different definition. We define full service as doing everything outside of like furnishing the unit. We do like we'll set up all the kitchen items, like we'll order everything, we'll do all the accounting. Essentially, the way I look at it is like once the property's set up, fully furnished, we can also help with that complete side conversation. But typically, that's the owner's responsibility. They hand it to us, we onboard it, and then we do everything from marketing, the listing, scheduling photos, like scheduling all the vendors, cleaners, pest control, valet trash, like everything to a point where we're answering inquiries, we're helping guests check in, any issues throughout their stay, check out, scheduling the cleaners, any maintenance on the property, all the way up to at month end, we do a month end accounting, and then we send that to the owners with a direct deposit. So when I say full service, it's all of that included, versus like I think a lot of co-hosting is you help people market more of kind of the evolved model. You help them market. You deal with some guest things. You're not handling funds in that situation. Full service, we're handling all that internally. We've got a bookkeeper, we've got an accountant, all the way down to like sending our owners tax documents at year end of everything that's happened at their investments.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. That's great to understand. And you're right. There's a lot of different definitions. The scope is really important. What do you charge for that generally? What's the full service model look like?
20%.
Okay, that's a good value for your owners. Actually, 20%.
It is.
That's a lot. That's actually a lot to do.
Yeah, I want to go up to 25. Like we started at 20. We've never raised prices. We've added some ancillary fees. Like we added an inspection fee of like, $50 per visit that our team goes out, kind of helps pay for their salary. That's on top of the 20%. But yeah, I want to go up to 25. I think the value is worth it. And it's going to help us like attract better talent, pay them more, and
Yeah.
in turn provide a better service.
Agreed. No, I think this is one of those businesses where you want to, the quality of your staff is really important, especially with turnover too, the cleaners especially. And yeah, like if you're listening and you have Caleb as your property manager, you're getting a pretget deal actually. All that for 20 points.
I'll definitely put this on social media. Yeah, we're going up. Don't get mad when Jan 1 you get an email.
Fair enough. And then, as you kind of build, so why not kind of just continue to grow the full service business? You sound like you're kind of branching out to different things. What I think about it is we're very, the way that I've built my business, we have the arbitrage portfolio, we have the stuff that we own, right? And it's very purposeful. Arbitrage stuff makes good cash flow. We reinvest that money into buying properties that will cash flow as well, not as well as arbitrage, because that's not really the point. But they will appreciate, or they will more likely appreciate and we get the tax advantages of bonus depreciation. But I'm curious, like, as you're thinking about your business, like you're adding on different services, like how are you thinking about Caleb and Caleb LLC?
Good question. I think I think one of the lower hanging fruit is like the full service is great. It's a great value for our investors, for our team. I We're very hindered with how many people we can help with full service. There is a lot that goes into it. Like the average property takes like 15 hours to onboard for us, but before we can even list it. So I kind of think the future that I see is more of these like virtual things like the revenue management we talked a lot about before the show. You can really infinitely scale that. Like you could, yeah, you still have to like hire, team members and potentially VAs to help scale that out. But full service, it's a lot. It's all about the local vendors. It's all about your cleaners, your inspectors. If you have inspectors, a lot of property managers don't have inspectors, which is a completely side combo. But I think the more people that I can help, the full service, for us, you have to be in Charlotte. You're an investor. It's a specific property that we'll take on. Like we don't take on properties under a certain revenue limit now. We turn down probably 90% of the deals that come across our desk just because I don't want to manage a $40,000 property. It doesn't make sense. So it's a very, very specific person that I can help for the full service. Revenue management, doesn't matter where you're at. If the property fits, like I could probably help that person make more money.
That makes sense. That's good. I mean, I think scalability, especially as you're thinking about a business, is important. Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. If you can think about how you found this podcast, maybe it was on TikTok or Instagram, or maybe someone shared it with you. I don't run ads for the show or have any sponsorships. So the only way this grows is through word of mouth. If my podcast is valuable for you in any way, please hit the subscribe button and share this with someone who you think would help their investing journey or business. Thanks a lot, and let's continue on with the episode. Maybe just talk me on that, like, on the 35 properties, like just give us a sense on revenue. I ask this question a lot because you get different answers from a co-hosting revenue side. Like, what does that look like to you? And then what are the typical margins? What are the margins you're looking at?
Yeah. Oh man, margins. I wish my business partner was on here. He handles a lot more of the finances. I do know the gross numbers. Typically, we're making about $1,100 per property right now.
Per month.
Per month. Yeah.
Okay.
Per month. So times 35, 35, 40 grand a month to gross. And then, margins, I don't really know. To be honest with you.
Does that include, do you pay for cleaning, or they pay for cleaning, right? Not you.
They pay for cleaning.
Okay. Got it.
That's strictly our management fee.
Got it. I've spoken to others, and obviously your cost is to bake. And you and your partner's cost is to bake into it. What I've typically heard is at scale, I have a contact who manages over 100 units, and then he's telling me his margin are like 18% at scale. One in Texas is like 50 plus properties in the low 20s. Which is good, it's like a good fee, it's kind of good fee revenue, right? Because you're not taking a ton of risks on there. It's just the work. Yeah. The owner takes that risk. And I'm just, and a property management business is more, you can sell it, right? If you have this contract, you can sell it. I'm just thinking, for me, as I think about from a business perspective, and I'm curious on your thoughts on this, because, want to be tactical here.
Yeah.
What I struggle with that business is, you don't really have control. You know what I mean by that? Like, if I had a hot tub here, we're going to make $50K more a year. If the owner is just like, you know what? I don't want a hot tub. There's something you can do about it, right? Unless you're going to be like, well, I'm going to buy a hot tub for you, which you'd be very generous. And then the second part is you have a lot of bosses, because they have your number, and when you're smaller, right? They have your number, and it's like a 1-to-1 with them. As you get bigger, of course, you hire like the relationship people, and they can kind of filter that for you. But how do you think about that? Because that for me was why I didn't really get it. I didn't get into the co-hosting business in the beginning. We did arbitrage, and I liked arbitrage because you have kind of one boss. You don't really have a boss, actually. You have the landlord, which you have to appease them, right? But as long as you pay them, they don't really bother you. And then when you own it, obviously you're kind of your own boss. So I'm just really curious about that, because that's the part I really struggled with.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think this is a very low margin business to be in. I think the education, the revenue management is much higher margin. There's your overhead is so much lower. Like we've got two full-time employees, we've got
Uh,
inspectors we pay, we've got handyman, like cleaners. That's not including any of that. Like we run pretty lean. Like we have a everybody works from home. We do have an office in the city. We have like a storage unit, and that's really it. You know, a majority of our profit goes to salary.
yeah.
That's really it. Like, for example, we budgeted out roughly one full-time employee could manage. We think with our portfolio, most of our properties are like bigger single-family homes. They have a yard, they have garages. Like, it's not an apartment or a townhome where it's a little bit lower maintenance. One employee can realistically manage about 25 units. That's like our kind of internal number of bigger single family homes. That's like managing the maintenance, the upkeep,
Yeah.
them not cutting the lawn, but like managing the vendor that cuts the lawn, making sure the hot tubs are cleaned, making sure the cleaners show up, making sure they do supplies, inventory, all that. That's kind of our internal metric. So right now we are a little overstaffed with two people for 35 units, and we also have three full-time VAs as well. So I think we're a little overstaffed. We could grow, but I think kind of the future is like these digital virtual services. Like I'm pretty high on this revenue management. Like for example, I mentioned earlier, but we took on a revenue management client that did 30 grand all of last year. We are on pace to do like 140 grand with $200 photos. We took new photos for $200 and didn't change a thing. We shuffled the photos around, redid the marketing, set minimum night stays, set minimum pricing. Like if somebody wants to book 3 months out, we're not taking that 3 night reservation, that 4 night reservation. Like we're requiring 6, 7 nights. So without really doing anything else, we turned that property to losing money every month to very profitable. I think that's really the future of our business. And I think the STR market is those revenue managers. I know a couple in the game that are doing it at a high level, but it's not something that's very popular right now. I
Yeah.
think that's kind of the next wave.
I agree. I agree. I very much agree with that. I think that is something that is a service that the space really needs. I think there aren't that, I mean, a lot of people say they're revenue managers. I would say, not all of them
Probably
are like
not.
that qualified.
Yeah.
But, I think that's just what's out there is so bad that people just set up a price labs and, kind of set it and forget it, that the bar is so low. If you're just incrementally better, you can build a nice business around that. We just onboarded a revenue management client she's a student of ours within the STR Like the Best program, but she has 4 beautiful properties in the Hamptons. I was telling you, and those properties can do 200-300 a year pretty easily, and those are the clients that we want to take on, that are kind of in our backyard here in either the Catskills or in the Hamptons, where I live in New York. Because I think, at least from my perspective, you want to understand the better you understand the local dynamics. I think kind of helps the pricing as well. Like we know, just for instance, the New York City school schedule. There's all these random holidays that you get off that like Price Labs is never going to know, but we know that because we have kids and parents want to get away.
Yep.
So it's like, oh, today's election, and we're recording this on November today's the 5th, 4th, or 5th, excuse me. New York City schools have the day off today, and if you know that as a revenue manager and you're booking out your property in the Hamptons, they're like, oh, okay, maybe 4 night minimum to capture the weekend. Someone works from home, so those things like that I think are really valuable. So like if you're listening to this and you're struggling with revenue management, my advice is like, one, just you can get a lot better pretty quickly if you just spend some time on it and
Yeah.
actually educate yourself. But if you like are just too busy and don't want to, like hiring a professional revenue manager really is not a bad idea. I think it more than pays for itself. Even if you break even, or you pay someone X% and they increase, you pay someone 5% and they increase your revenue 5%. So you're like, okay, I break even. But remember,
but
you not doing the work.
you're not doing that anymore. So it's like, how valuable is those
Your time.
5 hours, 10 hours a month? Like, break even is a net plus
It's great.
in that
And
regard.
you don't have the brain. You just don't have the brain damage of like going through looking at.
Staring at data all day, every day.
Yeah, especially some people just aren't wired that way. I think you and I are more so. But yeah, it's a lot of numbers, a lot of charts. You got to make decisions, and I think actually it's better for a third party. I hired a revenue manager back in 2019 on my team, so he does it full time. And I think one that's been a big part of my success too, because I was spending too much time on it, and it's allowed me to kind of build my business separately. I think two is, and I don't think this gets talked about enough. There's an emotional part to revenue management when it's your
Yes.
own properties and it's your mortgage or your rent, whatever it is. Maybe something else is happening in your life where you're like, got a big car repair bill. You're like, oh crap, I got to pay for this. Oh man, I really this thing's got to hit. So let me just lower the pricing so that I can get that revenue and just have that peace of mind. Like, a third party revenue manager is going to have that. They're going to look at the data and be a lot more data driven versus emotionally driven. And that for me was like, oh yeah, I don't have to deal with that anymore. Like when the
Yeah.
month, when the rent comes due or when the mortgages come through, you're like, oh man, maybe I need to just kind of drop this so I can get the money in. But
Yeah.
that's actually a really bad strategy.
Yeah. One thing that I hear often is like, my property, I won't accept under 250 a night or 450. Like, the property, and it's like, hang on, like, okay, do you have the stats to back that up? Or
Yeah.
no? The answer is always no. It's like, no, I think that my property's worth that. And you'll uncover some of the stats, and it's like, well, 90% of the market's priced at 229 for that, and you don't want to go past 250. That's fine, but you won't get booked.
Okay,
And they're
book.
like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay. What should we book it then?" Then the conversation changes. Like, we try to be as analytical as possible. Like, here's the comps, here's the, ADR, occupancy, and, in Price Labs. I know you said you didn't use Price Labs, but a lot of these tools, you can see what other people are priced at per night, and you can, do the enemy method. Like, see what other people are booked at, and if it's lower, then price it lower. If it's, higher, if it's more of an upscale property compared to the comps, then, price it up. I think a lot of people are not analytical, and they don't really know what to do with the data that's in front of them. I think that's
They don't.
probably a lot of the shortcomings. It's not really that hard, but I like data. I like looking at, charts and graphs and Excel spreadsheets and doing that. So that kind of comes natural to me. I've noticed that a lot of people aren't like that.
Yeah, there aren't, and they're not, and they don't want to be, and they don't have the time to be. Right. So I think these are always these things where, and I think that's where there's definitely a good market opportunity there. Why don't we transition the conversation a little bit on, just kind of ops and tactical, right? Like what in your, kind of in your world, what's the toughest problem that you're dealing with right now with your on the short-term rental business side? And it's not talking about like business development, but just like
Yeah.
what are you dealing with right now?
Hiring. Hiring sucks. Hiring is very hard. We are not great at hiring. I was talking to Matt McCall, my broker Matt, up in Michigan. I don't know if you know him, but we were talking
I
this
know,
week.
Matt.
He was
Yeah.
like, "Dude, are you guys good at hiring?" And me and my business partner are like, "Nope, we suck." So we're at some point we're probably going to hire like an HR person to come in and just tell us what to do. Like, blank canvas, give us what we need to succeed.
Like, what are you hiring for?
Inspectors, we've got a full-time inspector and a full-time area manager on our team internally. Like, we pay their salary. Our vendor list is like pretty good. So kind of the first phase of our growth was like, we rely solely on contractors, cleaners, handyman, like all that is outsourced. We got to a point where we're, 10 to 15 properties, and we're like, okay, we need some more. Like, a cleaner, they may or may not change the air filters, the batteries in your smart locks, like, but they're not like looking at preventative maintenance, like checking the roof, like cleaning the gut. They're not doing that. So the options are really like continue to, lean on handyman, lean on your vendors, or potentially get something in house. That we chose that route. We were like, let's hire this in house. That's the only way to really have people that give a crap.
Yeah.
Um, and we've
Even
selectively
then.
kept the yeah, true. Even then, like we've strategically like kept our portfolio small, because this business model is very hard to scale. Very, very hard to scale. It's all labor intensive. Um, there's a little bit of technology, but it's all about the people.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, like I am not the greatest hire manager. I think I'm a pretty good leader, but that is probably the hardest thing that I've found
Really.
with this business model.
I mean, happy to workshop with you. I think that's actually one of my key strengths. Actually, is recruiting and hiring. Actually, or maybe I've just been lucky to be around great people. We Our staff has been around with us for a long time, and I mean, like our cleaners, in Philadelphia, she's been with us since we started. So for 5 years now. Our cleaner in the Smokies, 4 years now. She manages everything for us. To your point about like changing the air filter, like she changes air filters, she'll change the batteries, like she'll make sure the handyman's work are like she'll like help us find a handyman sometimes if we
Before
can't
and
find
after is
someone,
nice.
because
Yep.
she has she's Hispanic and she has her own network in that community down there, and taking photos, just like kind of caring. What I found, and then my VAs, they've been with me for 4 or 5 years now. And we have overstaffed. We have 8 VAs actually, and they do bookkeeping and everything else. We've intentionally kind of overhired on that, because we have them do everything. So they're not just like, no one's just like customer service. No one does
Yeah.
one thing. I think that's
Cross
so like,
trained.
yeah, they're all cross trained. I think that helps the retention, because they see different parts of the businesses and they're not bored too. It's kind of like, it's a bit repetitive. And I think, and for cleaners, I think it's just like you find a good one and you just give them a lot of work,
Yep.
consistent
Pay them
work,
well.
pay them well. Like, I mean, pay them well is like, you pay them like, ours market. I know we're not really paying above market. I think what we do is like we pay them on time. We're like, hey, our pay cycle's this. Send us our invoice before. We'll get it paid by then. We always pay in full. We always pay on time. You treat them with respect. You give them some visibility into the business. Like some of our cleaners, they see all the messages too, so they can like our clean. Actually, they all see the messages, so they can see like what's going on. So it's not like us telling them, hey, this is not clean. It's like you can see it for yourself,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Here's the and then so there's a little bit of ownership there too. And then for the stuff that we own, they have access to the cameras and to the smart locks, and that helps them with planning their day, because it's one cleaning team for 6 cabins, so they can see like, oh, this person left early, they don't have to message us, right? They can just like, oh, the car's gone, let's go there and clean. And so I found that really helps with retention, keeping your good people. So anyway, maybe that's helpful to you, because that's
Yeah.
we've been very, I think that's kind of for us like the secret sauce of the business. Like we've been finding like really good people that have like stayed with us. So like one, they like they kind of do the work, and then so like we can go focus on like growing versus like hiring new cleaners, onboarding them, making sure they don't like screw up or like cheating or lying or whatever, all those other problems that come with that, with high turnover.
Yeah. What do you think has been your kind of X factor? You say you're really good at it. Like, is there anything that you think you do differently than a normal person hiring, like vendors or even in-house people?
Yeah, I mean, vendors, hit and miss. You test them out, and I think on vendors, I actually I've learned, one, to just like obviously ask for referrals, but two, like we'll pay more. Like for plumbers, like we have someone in the Smokies. He's expensive. It's like, get him out there. It's 125. Like to fix the toilet, sometimes it's like $300, 350. But like it's
Yep.
fixed, and I know it's
And it
fixed.
probably shows up on time,
He shows us on time. He takes the
sends
photos. He
photos.
actually
Yep.
sends So I can probably get a handyman to do it for $100. So why am I paying 350? Because that 350 and then it's done, and it's not, my water bill won't run. I don't get any guest complaints. The other way, it's like they kind of jiggle around a little bit. They fix it ish, but it breaks another month, and then you get a guest complaint. You get you got someone out there. So you kind of like just fix it once and just be done with it. I think a lot of it comes from background in finance. I did a lot of hiring then and saw a lot of people. When I was an investment banker, we would have new class of analysts every single year. So you have like 10, 20 new people come in every single year. And you kind of figure out who was good and bad. And I would also recruit on campus when we go back to Cornell to recruit. So I think when you talk to someone, you can kind of sense if they really want it or not,
Yeah.
right? I think that's like I never hire for experience. I hire for capability. Is this person like hungry for it? Do they want to learn? Can I give them some scenarios? I'll just give them some scenarios and have them just kind of talk me through how they would think about it. I find it to be really helpful if they have that gear in their head that like a lot of people don't have. Just be able to like problem solve and not be so rigid in their thinking. And that's been really helpful because once I find those people, then I can empower them. I pay them really well, and they stay.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the X factor. Just being able to figure out if a person is like how bad they want it, and do they have that other gear in their head that they can like think
just figure it out.
Like, figure it out.
Yeah. Because one thing that I've learned, it's like anything nowadays, you can probably Google it, do 10 minutes of research, and find your answer. Like
you can
even
go on
if it's not
ChatGPT now for like 2 minutes, and it'll give you the answer. Like I'll tell you, like, so my just today, my dog, her name's Winnie. Winnie wasn't feeling well, and we think because we just got our daughter a Play-Doh set that like there's some scraps on the floor and that she might have eaten it. And I just go on ChatGPT and I was like, oh, what if a dog eats Play-Doh? What happens? And it lists her symptoms. Like, oh shoot, I think these are her symptoms. She might be sick. I call my veterinarian, who's it's like $400 every single visit. I call them. They're like, hey, we think our dog ate Play-Doh. What do you think? She's like, well, I don't think it's that bad actually. It's non-toxic, so it's okay. Oh, but wait a minute, there's a lot of salt in there, so maybe she should come in. And literally, and I was talking to my wife. She was on the phone with them. I was like, she literally is just looking at ChatGPT because like that's exactly what it's saying. And I'm like, like the knowledge is, but the hard part is like finding the person that's going to go on ChatGPT and look for the answer. And like maybe they don't get their first answer, they just kind of ask like 3 or 4 more follow-up questions to get the answer that they want. Like that is 5% of people, and that's the 5% people you want to get.
Yeah, and it's
that's my simple heuristic for that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like how do you get that out in an interview? We've started doing working interviews. Like we would do first interview, then working interview on site to like, okay, show me how you would inspect this house. Like go for it.
Yeah.
And just you can get a good idea there of just like, okay, what are you looking for? Oh, there's this issue. Okay. Talk me through it. What are you going to do about it? Like, how would you solve this? Then it's like, okay, yep, I would do this and this and that. I think that has been pretty helpful, which I didn't think we ever needed, but that has helped with the last 2 hires. But I think it is a lot of numbers. It's a numbers game.
Yeah, and the last thing, the thing I'll end with is like we very much hire fast, fire fast. If we like someone, we'll hire them, but like if it doesn't work out in a month, we'll let them go. Give them 2 weeks, and I've learned just enough now. Like you can't change. You can't, and you don't want to change someone. Like if they come in, they can do it. Great. If they can't, then there's a better fit for them somewhere else. I made that mistake the first time, and we kept someone for like 6 months, and by the second week we knew she wouldn't work out, but we just like we spent so much time investing in this person. Like and that's like
it's a nice person.
It's a nice person. If there's one thing you take away from this, if you're listening, if there's one thing you take away from this this episode is hire fast, fire fast. Like don't. Like the sunk cost fallacy, like it's whatever time you spend with that person, it's gone, it's done, right? If they don't work out, find the next person. Like you'll find the right person eventually.
Yep.
You'll learn and find the right person. I'll give a quick shout out to my buddy Mike McKay, who like taught us his, and this is all about learning too, right? Like back in 2018, we didn't know how to hire VAs, and then he was really good at it. He had this like long SOP on exactly how you hire a short-term rental virtual assistant, like how you ask questions on Upwork, how you do the first video call, how do you ask them for the internet speed, their computer, like you ask about their family, you ask about their living situation, you take pictures of you ask them to send you a picture of their living situation, of their office situation. You ask them what type of microphone do you use? Like all these little things that you would never think about, but like that has been a great way for us to find good VAs. So if you're ever looking for a good VA, there's definitely like a tried and true way of doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
It's like, are
it,
you working from home in a closet?
yeah, exactly. Again, thanks for spending time with me today. That was really, it's always great to talk to another operator. For folks out there that are in Charlotte, with a nice 4-bedroom on the lake, would like your property management services or your other virtual services, what's the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah. So right now, probably Instagram, Caleb W. Shore. The business called MyTripify, just mytripify.com. And yeah, shoot me a message. I respond to almost all of them, unless you get hit in the request box or the message request box. But yeah, feel free to reach out. I appreciate it, Michael.
Yeah, Kevin, I appreciate you for educating us on the Charlotte market. Maybe you get some more competition there now.
Yeah, hopefully not.
All right, perfect. If you found this episode valuable, please make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can get notified when I put out new content on Airbnb investing. And if you want to learn about how to work with me more directly, I have links below on my description. Click on those and let's figure out how I can help you with your Airbnb investing journey.